So in this video, I'll be talking about why you're not sub 15 with Roux. The sub 20 video, which was the one I did last, was very long, so let's get started right away. The first thing I want to talk about is move count. So by now, it should definitely be around 50 moves, and that's with full CMLL. You should definitely know full CMLL by now. If you really want to get faster, you're going to need it anyway. If you're too lazy to learn it, then you might as well give up on 3x3 because you aren't going to get much faster than sub 15, maybe sub 12 if you try really hard. And you definitely don't want to be using anything like 2-look CMLL, which is the 9-alg version where you orient and then permute. You don't want to be using beginner CMLL, which is just Nicholas and Soons. And last but not least, you don't want to be using CFOP. Just don't do it. Not at all. Okay, so now I'll be talking about splits of move count and time. You want to aim for 9-move first block, a 16-move second block, 10-move CMLL. With my algs, I calculated in the average move count of my algorithms is actually 10. And obviously, my algs are the best, so you should learn them. And last 6 edges should be about 15 moves. Second block can be 15, last 6 edges can be 16, just depends on the person. So just like last time, I'll be talking about the solving time equation where your time is the move count divided by TPS. So considering a move count of 50, you plug in the time you want to be, so 15, move count's 50. You multiply both sides by TPS, then divide by 15, you get 50 over 15. Simplify the fraction, divide both denominator and numerator by 5, you get 10 over 3. And that's approximately equal to 3.33 TPS to get 15 seconds. You may notice that this isn't much of a step up from the 2.7 TPS required to be sub 20, and I can guarantee that if you're sub 20, you can probably physically turn at 4 TPS, so the only thing holding you back from sub 15 is pauses. So the best way to improve is focusing on eliminating pauses and looking ahead. So now I'll talk about how many seconds each step should take, or these splits. So first block should be 3 seconds or just under it. Second block should be about 5 seconds. CMLL should be about 3 seconds, and the last 6 edges should be 4 seconds. And just like before, second block and LSE, this one can be 4 seconds, this can be 5 seconds. It just depends on the person. I know for me, my LSE has always been the slowest step. And by now you should know which step is your weakest, so you can focus your practice and target improving your weakest step. So everything I've said so far is general, and TPS and move count are things that could be improved simultaneously in slow solving. So the way to do this is to double your average solving time, so that will probably be about 30 seconds for you guys, and you'll try to get every single solve under that. So if I were you, I would try to get every solve between 27 and 30 seconds. So what you practice specifically is turning very slowly to learn better finger tricks, so actually paying attention to how you're doing the moves, how to minimize regrips, so using different lefty U2, righty U2, things like that, and look ahead in efficiency. So since you have more time to think, you can look ahead to your next step and efficiency. Once again, you have more time to think, so you can pay attention to the efficiency and optimal ways to do things. So some more stuff about specific practice. You should be practicing without inspection time, so untimed inspection, and you should be trying to plan your whole first block in inspection. Now, I've probably said this dozens of times, but in my opinion, the best way to improve is to improve your inspection, because that's where your solve starts. And the more you plan an inspection, the faster you can turn at the beginning of the solve, and the longer the time you have to look ahead to the next step. So for more information on how to improve your inspection, you can check out a Cubing World video as well as my video on it. So the most noticeable difference I see between a sub 15 solver and a sub 20 solver is that the sub 15 solver doesn't waste any moves. And I don't mean that they're perfectly efficient, but every move that a sub 15 solver does has a purpose, and they solve the pieces in reasonable ways. So you should definitely know exactly what you're doing while you're doing it, so you shouldn't be confused or completely lost. Every CMLL, first block, second block, and LSE case should be familiar to you, and you should know exactly how you're going to solve it. And I know you've heard this probably hundreds of times from me and other YouTubers, but the only way to get more familiar with your solving method and the cube in general is to practice. But I don't think many people specify how much practice. Just as an example, back when I averaged about a minute, I was doing about 100 solves a day, and I was slow. A minute is slow. You guys average like 16 or 17 if you're watching this video, so you should be able to do definitely at least 100. So in these 100 solves, if you ever come across a case you do inefficiently, or if you pause before solving a case, always ask yourself what happened after the solve so you can learn from your mistake and make sure you don't do it again. So you ask questions like, why was that pair so many moves? Why did I pause after EO? How can I execute that CMLL better? And you should be able to come up with answers to most of these questions, but if not, then feel free to ask questions on the Roux Facebook group or the Roux Method Speed Solvers thread. The Roux Help and Discussion thread on speed solving forums. And basically, once you know exactly what you're doing and how you're solving pairs, CMLLs, EO, LR edges, 4C, you'll be able to look ahead better and you'll be able to turn faster because all these solutions will be muscle memory and you'll be so familiar with them that it'll just be second nature. So now, just like the sub 20 video, we're going to look at a slow solve by me that's sub 15, and then we will analyze a solve of someone who is trying to get sub 15. Okay, so now I'll just be doing a slow solve where I get sub 15 with slow turning, and I'll try to apply all the tips I talked about. So untimed inspection and smooth turning with good look ahead and being familiar with all your cases. So make sure you look through all your options. Okay, so now I know I'm doing the green with yellow bottom block, and I will start now. So that's 7-second first two blocks. Done CML at 10, and that was 13. So the solver, I think, did a good job of inspecting. He spent a good amount of time looking at the first block and picking which one to do. Not much to say about that. However, as you just saw right there, there was a small pause between the first square and the last pair of first block. So the solver was a bit unsure about what was going to happen after solving the first square. So to eliminate that pause, just make sure you're familiar with how the moves you're doing to solve your square are going to affect the last pair. And I would say maybe spend an extra 3 seconds or so on inspecting just to be absolutely sure that you know where your pieces are going to end up. What I liked about the solve was that the transition between first block and second block was pretty good. There wasn't much of a pause, and then the solver solved the first square pretty quickly. But there was a slight pause between the first square of the second block and the second square. You saw that right there. Overall, there isn't much to say about the last pair and CMLL recognition execution. One thing I would say is don't AUF. If you have to look at the right side of the cube to recognize, just tilt it and peek. But the CMLL itself, it was just a nickless. Execution was fine. So we'll move on. So the last 6 edges, I like the turning speed. You're very comfortable with all the moves, proper finger tricks. However, it looked very inefficient, and we'll see that once I start showing the solution. and it seemed like you were wasting a lot of moves and could have done certain cases in a lot better ways. So now I'll start showing you the reconstruction of the solve. The scramble will be at the top. So what the solver did is that he rotated Y2 and solved this blue-yellow block. So he saw these two were paired up, and then this pair. So he did U to pair up these, R wide, U prime, R wide prime, to set these up and preserve this pair, and then U wide, and then this is where the pause happened that I talked about. He did U prime U, because he was unsure of where these pieces ended up, and then solved them with RU prime B. Now that's a pretty good first block. I'll show you what I would have done. So I would have also done the same thing. U, just like that, RU prime, R wide prime U, RU prime B. So I would have done the exact same thing, minus the U prime U hesitation. So for the second block, this is where the efficiency everything started to go wrong in terms of efficiency. So he did U prime, R wide prime, but that flips this edge, so he realized that's a mistake, and then R wide U. So those four moves cancel out, and then R wide prime, U, R wide prime to put this down and set up this pair right here, and then U prime, U prime, U prime, then do this in the back, R U prime, R prime U, R U, R prime. Now the pair solution itself wasn't bad, but the three U primes and the mistake while setting this up was. And then he did U prime again, and then U prime, because he noticed that this corner needs to go back here. Oriented it like that while bringing this edge up. M prime to pair them, U2, R wide prime, U prime, R wide. Now that pair solution is exactly how I would have done it, except not with the U prime, U prime, U prime. So for this second block, in general, what I would have done is just straight up R wide 2, U M prime, and that sets up this pair. So then U2, join them like that. And then all we have now is this pair, so that's a 3-move pair and 3-move insert right after. Now moving on to the CMLL, we were at this angle. So he did U to recognize that these are the same and these are opposite, and then U prime, R wide prime F, R F prime, R wide U, R wide prime, which is just a Nicholas except using R wide moves instead of L's. So there's not much to say there. It's pretty obvious. I just wouldn't have done the U prime. All I do is when I get students from this angle is peek at the right side. So then I just would have done without the R wide moves. Exact same solution pretty much. Now CMLL is where, not CMLL. Last 6 edges is where the solver really struggled with efficiency. There were a lot of mistakes. So I'll show you. So U2 to get this arrow and line it up to the back. M, U prime, M prime. And that does EO. But then he did U prime U, which cancels out. And then M2, which cancels with the M prime he did before the U prime U. And then U prime, and now we have this and this, so M prime U2 M prime. And then U prime, but he noticed that these are wrong. So U2, and then he thought this was the case. The 4C cycle was M U2 M prime U2 M2, but that ended up being wrong. So then he had to fix it with MM U2 M2 U2 M2. So that was a very inefficient last 6 edges. I'll show you how I would have done it. So I would have done U2 M U prime M, and that just cancels with what he did, and then solve this just like that. And I actually ended up with the exact same case, so I just solve it like that. So now I'll just show you the reconstruction of alg cubing. So you can see inspection, first block, you can see how long the second block and LSE are, and that's just because of the inefficiencies and the mistakes. So the whole solve ended up being 71 STM, which means 71 over, I think the solve was 15.3. That means your TPS was 4.6, which is too fast. So you should be trying to be more efficient and slow down your turning. So what I did in this tab is just copied the exact same moves. And what I'm going to do here is just cancel out all the moves that don't do anything to the cube. So like this U prime U doesn't do anything. This chunk of 4 moves doesn't do anything. U prime, U prime, U prime should have just been a U. Once again, U prime, U prime, U prime. That should have been a U. And then what else do we have? We have this U prime before CMLL. And then LSC, there's going to be a lot of stuff that cancels. U prime U goes away. M prime M2 is just an M. What else? U prime U2 is just a U. M2 prime MM is just nothing. U2 cancels out. M prime M2 is just M. And now you can see just by canceling out all those wasted moves, we've cut the solution down to 49 STM. And now you can see I'll just play the LSE for you. It's a lot more efficient, and this is exactly how I would have done it. There it is. So 49 STM. If we consider the 71 over 15.3, which was 4.6. So if we take 49 STM over that 4.6, we get 10.65. So if you can just eliminate all these wasted moves and improve your look ahead, then you will be averaging sub 12 easily. Not even just sub 15, but sub 12. So that just shows you how important it is to make sure you know exactly what you're doing, so you don't make mistakes, you don't AUF too much. So that's basically all I wanted to say in this video. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Hopefully it helped.